X-rays, CT scans, MRI scans. If you see, they are all images, right? That's where the industry is headed. That's how powerful AI is becoming. If you have 1,000 images, can a doctor do justice to analyzing 1,000 images? No, right? Really not. It's very difficult, right? But whereas AI does the job wonderfully well. So we are not talking the AI system to replace the doctors. We are saying that he will assist the doctors to take better decisions. That's what we are talking about here. Okay.
Sorry.
Yes. So it is used extensively in the world of disease prediction.
I have a doubt. Like, what is this? Like, nowadays people are doing robotic operation surgeries and all. Is it also connected with AI or something else?
No, see there the technology is different, right? We are only using, instead of a human doing it, you have a physical entity doing it. Although, in relation, for want of a better word, we call it as AI, okay? But it's not really AI. Because here AI is truly about prediction. Because if I will call robotics as AI, robotic surgery as AI is, if some mistake happens, right? If a complication arises in the surgery, if the robo is able to make decisions on its own, then I will call it as AI. Right? Is Siri an AI? Not really. Siri uses an AI application, what is called as natural language processing. Siri is not really AI, but it uses a AI concept called NLP. Okay, Siri is not truly an AI, because that's where you need to understand many adjacent technology, like you asked, what augmented reality, so many things, right? It helps us all to understand when you come for the training, right? To understand these competing technologies, adjacent technologies, complementing technologies, how we all can use this to solve our problems. Because the core thing AI is to be like human. When you are talking to be like human, to actions like human. Okay. To give you another example, it is used, in the banking industry. Okay. Today, bankers are using it to proactively identify loan defaulters. So the system is able to predict which of my customers are likely to be a defaulter. I know we all get calls from banks, right? They come and ask, will you buy this credit card? Will you take this personal loan and all that? But if the system has alerted, the kind of call you get will be very different. Okay? If the system has flagged that you're likely to be a defaulter, the kind of person who will be talking to you will be very different. The kind of conversation will be very different. Right? Many of the Indian PSU banks are not doing it, but some of the more foreign banks, right? More experienced ones like your Citi and all that, right? They use AI a lot. In fact, there is something called as a risk engine. Not just this, they use it to predict fraud. You use a credit card, all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, the bank calls and says, sir, have you done this transaction? You suddenly see a transaction for this many dollars or this many rupees. What is this based on? No.
The data.
Right, it's based on data and the processing is by AI. See, there is a question, the printing of passbooks and all that. No, that's not AI. That's a machine, that's all. Right? It's like a computer, it's like a printer. That's all. We have made it interactive. An interactive system is not AI, right? That way we can say that even a computer is AI, right? Because we type something and the computer does something. No. When we say AI, we are referring to a system that thinks and acts like human beings. right? And what is the aspect behind thinking and taking action? It is about identifying patterns. We all know patterns, right? In the dress that we have, right? We have maybe a flower pattern or a temple pattern, right? Or a polka dot pattern, right? In our saris, in our shirts and all that, right? We are able to identify patterns. In fact, a child can identify a pattern as early as 7th month. It's only through that it is able to distinguish between a familiar face and an unfamiliar face, and either smiles or cries. So it is this pattern recognition that we will be teaching the computer through the AI programming. So we are talking of an intelligent system. Yes, AI is a subset of computer science, right? But it's much more than that. AI uses computer science, but it uses many other disciplines of learning as well. Okay, you can't bucket AI as a subset of computer science. That will be a huge injustice. AI uses computer science. Okay, so let's understand that, right? So the key aspect I'm trying to convey to you is we are talking about an intelligent system, right? How many of you have heard of driverless cars?
Yes,
Right?
sir, we've heard of. Yeah.
So if you see, this is being experimented. It's still not coming to being fully.
Yeah.
A few states in the US are trying it, right? What is the technology behind it? It is AI, right? It's image recognition because it can make a distinction between a stationary object and a moving object. It can determine what is the distance to a signal. So the kind of brake it needs to apply, is it a hard application of brake or a soft, slow application of brake? It's making a decision, right? So that's called as an AI, right? So before we see this, let me just share with you what are the things we typically cover in our training program. Okay, so we will use Python as the programming language, right? So we will introduce, we will cover many of the concepts, because what we have seen is people don't really understand or have a lot of confusion around many of the concepts. Okay, there is a question. What is that? Is deep learning? Yes, deep learning is part of AI. Deep learning is part of AI. Deep learning is a very advanced version of AI. Okay, like you see, someone is climbing the stairs, right? So deep learning is really at the highest level. Okay. So what we will be covering? We will be covering many of the concepts. As I said, people need conceptual clarity. And I have seen, I know that in many places, people jump into Python programming straight away, right? People are not able to see the end-to-end picture. If I'm using Python, if I'm doing some work, why I'm doing it? Okay, that's very important. As I said, there are many adjacent technologies. For example, what is Industry 4.0? What is process automation? Right? What is deep learning? How all of this are related to AI, right? So these concepts need to be covered first. Before introducing Python programming, we see that it's not happening nowadays. Okay, so which is the gap we are trying to address, right? So that we give the right perspective, the right end-to-end knowledge. If we provide that, the students can really a fabulous job. As I was telling at the start of the course, right? Some of the school students, okay, not just in the US, right? Even in India, we feel that the students are doing a fabulous job, okay, in understanding the technology and in application. Because proof of pudding is the eating, right? They must apply this. Okay, and if a college student comes, we also give a lot of interview tips. Okay, we tell them how to attend interviews, what are the kind of questions, right? What are the areas they need to focus? So all of this will be covered. And as I said, we are using Python, as a programming language. That will be a project, okay, a test, and after that a certification will be provided. We are also associating with a university in the UK. The work is in progress, where the certification in future, in about 3 months' time, right, will be awarded by like a joint certification between Seaport AI and the university. But that's in the works, okay. But what you will get is conceptual clarity. As I said, that's most important today. Conceptual clarity, right? End-to-end perspective and practical application. On top of this, we will provide the Python programming language, right? Where and they'll be able to apply many of this through real life projects, because the emphasis is on learning. Okay, so that's what we'll be covering, right? So any other examples, if you have any doubts, just feel free to ask. We have about another 15 minutes to go.
So what are the disadvantages of AI?
Why there is looking at disadvantage? I can't think of any disadvantage, right? It's making our lives a lot easier. I really can't think of any, right?
So, but I have a question. In recent past, we have Google and Facebook had an issue with the US government for taking away the personal data. So, how far is the AI is
that is part? Not AI, right? If you really see, that is not AI. That is a practice, It's about if you see mobile, if you use a mobile, many of the mobile, ask for data permission, right? That is a practice adopted by companies. That is, see, it is like a tool is being given in the hands of human beings, right? If they misuse it, it's not appropriate to blame the technology, right? It is the individuals who need to be blamed. Right? So someone is asking about what is the application of AI in healthcare. As I said, it is used to predict diseases. You can predict whether someone will get a heart disease, looking at someone's weight, height, current level of blood pressure, current sugar level, current resting.
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir, you told, you can predict the disease conditions. Like, is it now practically being applicable now in the present situation?
Yes. It is being.
Can you give me in any hospitals like that?
It is being used. Yes.
Great.
As I said, the disease, we have developed it and we have given it to places. It is being applied.
How does it work, sir? Can you give me a
see? How does it work? Well, see, that's why I gave you the example of patterns, right?
Yeah.
It's like the patterns, right? Past patterns. Someone had a disease means what were the patterns? Okay. That person, height was more, was not physically active, blood pressure was high, sugar was high, cholesterol was high. His parents also, had some kind of.
Okay, with all the background data, you just predict, give a prognosis. Okay, you give a prognostic diagnosis, like maybe this, like
no. See, we are predicting with a certain level of probability, right? Because nothing is absolute, right? Because no one is God, right?
Yeah.
Because how will the system understand the patterns? It can understand the patterns only from past data, right?
Okay, sir. So now, has being in the healthcare field, so what is our role in introducing AI, or what can we do? What can we do in this? Like, if you learn AI will be helpful, or because I'm from a pharmacy background, so I have completed my M.Pharm and MBA. So what will be my role in AI? How can I help?
Right. See, there are two aspects. If you see at the beginning of the session, I said, we are either going to be a practitioner of AI or an end user of AI.
Okay.
Right? So either way, AI is going to touch you. So better, right? That is one perspective. The other, specifically to answer your question, is, in fact, in the world of pharma, AI is applied in a big way. Where it is applied? because when you introduce drugs, right, you have to study how effective the drug is. You have to take a call whether AI can be whether a drug can be introduced or not. What is the efficacy of the drug?
Yes.
Right? What can I increase the composition of chemical in my drug? All those decisions are now taken by. Okay, so AI is applied in a big way in pharma. So if you're a practitioner, right, so you can pursue, right, you can work to develop, an AI system, right, or you can use an AI system to do a better job, of whatever you're doing.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Sure. See, there's one more question. Is AI applied in actuaries? Yes. What is actuaries? Actuaries is insurance. Today, AI is being used to determine whether a policy needs to be given or not. Because insurance companies, though they come after you asking to take a policy, they don't give policy to everyone. So that decision is being helped by AI. And it's used big time in the world of fraud detection also. Because let's say you have a motorbike, right? You don't actually bang, you don't actually meet with an accident, but because you want money, you go and lodge a claim with an insurance company, saying I went and somebody banged my motorbike. You're actually committing a fraud, right? Thinking no one will catch. Today we have AI systems that can proactively identify suspicious claims. It is not saying fraudulent. It says something is suspicious there. So the company will come and investigate.
Sir, now I have a doubt, like based on this, because sometimes when the data predicts the AI works, and mistakenly it has given a wrong database, wrong prediction based on the data. How it can be corrected, or
See,
because
yes, good question. The point is, if you see, the output is as good as the input, right? If you feed junk, because the system has to learn to identify patterns. It is based. See, it is like if we have to right, if we have to become a good human being, right? If we have to become a good human being, we have to what do I say? Right? Learn well, right? Our environment should be good. So it's a function of how we have been brought up and how we grew, right? So that's like the past data, right? So the past determines in a way. So AI also uses the past data, just like human beings. So if you want a higher accuracy, you need to provide right data, you need to provide more data. See, it is like if someone has to score well, you need to enable with a good school, a good teacher, a good curriculum, right? And all the aiding tools. Then the student learns, right? Invariably.
yes,
So that's the similar analogy can be applied. So you need the right level of data here for the AI. Right? Will there be a problem to employment? There is a question. I don't think so. As I said, it's going to create new types of jobs. It's going to create new types of jobs. You're preparing yourself for the future. There's absolutely no way that this will not help us in employment, especially growing economy like the US and India and all that, right? Will stand to gain significantly from this. Any other questions?
So can you highlight what all things you will be covering in this course?
Right.
And what will be the fee structure or something, and the timings?
Sure.
Because we're already working, so we have to chalk out the time.
Right. So what we are doing is, ma'am, a 2.5 month program, roughly about 20 to 25 hours in all. Okay, and what you see in the screen is what we will cover. Okay, we will cover the concepts like what is machine learning, what is deep learning, and all that. Okay, Python as a programming language will be covered, and we will also cover how to apply. Okay. So we have the initial level is this, plus we also have advanced courses where we cover more advanced concepts, and that is also roughly about 2.5 months, right?
Totally 4.5 months, you mean to say?
If you want to get a full understanding, a complete understanding, right? But for starters, for beginners, the one that I said, the 2.5 months is a good place to start. That's something I will encourage everyone to learn, and I think that will help teachers like you as well, right? Because we will be covering Python, we will be covering a lot of real life things. But yes, we do have an advanced program, right? Where we cover the more advanced concepts. Because without taking you through the basics, we can't cover that. And what we will, the fees is 3,000 rupees. That's what we charge, right, for this 2.5 month program. And there will be a lot of practical exposure concepts that will be covered.
You will be providing some books, or will be providing some tutorials or some video slides?
Yes, ma'am. We will provide notes, right? In fact, we have a book, but due to COVID, we are not able to courier, right? I hope things move, but I can share a soft copy, right, of the book, right? Yes, we will be sharing material to you.
Okay. So you have any special book for practicals, because it will be really helpful when we are teaching students.
We will cover that.
We will be able to give a good exposure, because once they start doing and applying the things what they are learning instead of rote learning. Right. I really don't prefer rote learning, because what happens, they have to learn code, and if they forget, then it is of no use.
Right.
So instead of that, if we are able to incorporate along with this real life projects or small projects which they are able to do themselves.
Yes.
So that will be really helpful for the kids to explore as well. They can also explore. It's not that everything we should teach. They should have the space to explore and innovate as well.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, one of the examples we teach very early is, can we predict the number of marks a student will score based on the number of hours he or she studies?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's as basic as that, right? Okay. See, I just want to highlight one more point here. We also work with schools and colleges in creating an AI club, right? This is apart from the training. Using the existing infrastructure itself, right? How can we create an AI club, right? Where we help foster a climate of advanced technology and artificial intelligence, right? So that the culture aspect is also taken care. Because as you rightly said, ma'am, Subhashini ma'am, it's not just about the learning, the rote learning and all that, right? It's about application. I will take it one notch higher and say that it's also about culture, right? Because what we have seen is, if the kids' school environment fosters a culture of advanced technology and artificial intelligence, it will help them that much more. Okay, and that's what we do in AI Club, right? Through these technologies, right? In the form of games, in the form of competitions, so that the students really, not just in school but also in colleges, get a hang of these advanced technologies. So this is also something that we offer, but this is outside of the training, right? We work with the school, right? With the departments in schools and colleges. If they are interested, we can work separately, right? I saw a few more questions coming up. Will be an additional learning for healthcare professionals? Yes, Smita. It will be an additional learning, right? Because as you said, this helps you to understand where the industry is headed. Right?
So then there is any specific specialization for healthcare like in that or
Yeah,
just
you
the
can
base?
see in the basic you need to learn, right? Because before you come there, probably when you come to advanced, in the case that you are asking, right? You can focus exclusively on healthcare. In fact, right now we have an advanced class that's going where a group of students, okay, have come together and they have actually tied up with a medical professional. They are developing an application, for a certain segment. It's a healthcare application,
Okay.
right? So you can focus like that. And
Okay.
I encourage that, when you come to advance, it is more like, you choose a specialization. So whatever I teach, you start to apply that learning completely to your field of interest.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure, sure.
Sir, what will be the mode of payment? How should we do it? Can you please give a highlight of that?
Yes, the payment, it is online. You can pay through GPay or, Paytm as well.
Okay.
Right. So, and we can get started. We will be starting in about a week's time, a new batch, right?
Okay.
Sometime next week.
Okay.
So I think I have your mail ID. We'll be sending it to you.
Yeah.
And this is my mail ID. If you have any, info at CPO